Lisa, can you just give me a bit of a background on what you actually do?
So I help people struggling with trauma. So I do healing work of the subconscious and childhood wounds and triggers.
Fascinating. How did you get into this kind of field? What sort of sparked your interest?
15 years ago, I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder from a domestic violence. And I was told that post-traumatic stress disorder you will have for the rest of your life, but it's something that can be managed. And I managed to cure it within 7 months.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow. How did you get out of it? How did you find the tools to break through?
So when I was diagnosed, I was referred to a counsellor and she said she couldn't help me. So she said, I'm going to refer you on to a psychiatrist. But the waiting list was 2 years. And I thought, I'm not going to survive for 2 years. So I was having sort of like 6 or 7 panic attacks on a daily basis, nightmares that was resulting in me sleepwalking, running out the house, um, severe depression. So I was quite a spiritual person growing up naturally. But I didn't really know anything about the subconscious mind. I knew a little bit about vibration. So when the doctor said to me, it's not curable, something clicked in my mind to think an emotion is a vibration. So why can't it be removed? The only thing that can't be destroyed in this world is energy. So that's when my mission started.
Yeah.
And I went straight down to the library, picked up so many books on the subconscious mind, and I went home and I just read and read and read, and this went on for weeks. Um, I started understanding a lot more about the subconscious mind. It's either your best friend or your worst enemy.
Mm.
And I was like, right, so I'm on a low vibration, and that's why my subconscious every day is giving me this fright or flight. Every day, there you go. As soon as you wake up, you feel depressed, you feel awful. So I started listening to these high frequencies. I don't know if you've ever seen them on YouTube. So they're like high frequency. It's not music, it's sound.
Yeah, it's like I forget what they call it. White noise music or something like that.
So it's a little bit like that, but there's different
Yeah.
so what it does is goes deep into the subconscious. So while you're sleeping and things like that. So it just changes the waves. So I started doing that each night. And then in the morning, as soon as I had that horrible, because I used to wake up, instant panic attack, because it's like you're reliving again. Every time you wake up, you have to relive that emotion, that feeling. So rather than having a panic attack, I jumped up, I'd come downstairs, listen to the high frequency, and I'd clear my subconscious until there was no emotion, no thinking going on.
Mm.
And then I'd go upstairs and I'd brush my teeth with my left hand rather than my right hand, because then the subconscious is going, what are you doing? And I was kind of doing all this and dribbling everywhere, and I started to laugh. So then it was tricking the subconscious to give me a different emotion. So then I
Yes.
started to laugh, and then I sat with that straight out the house, which is something that used to make me panic because if people walked behind me, especially when I'd freeze. So I started going a different way round. I'd drive a different way round, and I'd go and have experiences that I hadn't had to give me a different emotion. Because obviously, with the subconscious, it knows to give you what you want. So if you stay on that stuckness of that depression, that post-traumatic stress disorder, you will be in it constantly until you break. And
Yep.
the only way we can do that is by understanding that we're in control, because we are in control of our subconscious. Um, and I started noticing that I was becoming better and better. It wasn't an instant thing. I religiously
No.
did it every day. And then I remember coming home because I ended up being able to go back to work. And I came home and I went, oh, I've not had a panic attack today. Then I had a panic attack because I'd done all that tricking of the different emotions. And then I told the subconscious, give me a panic attack. So I was like, right. And then I started figuring out even more that we are in control. And that's when I started doing this really deep dive into the subconscious mind,
Mm.
um, and understanding a lot about myself and why people behave the way that they do.
Yes.
People say to me, how can you forgive what happened to you? How can you forgive somebody for what they did to you? It's not about forgiving that person. It's about forgiving the emotion that it gives you so that you can let it go, because it will always, always, always be attached to you. For instance, when I started observing other people and the way that they behave, for instance, the person that abused me, I looked at his childhood and I was like, he experienced the same thing. His dad did the same thing to his mother. So that was locked in his subconscious, and he was in a cycle of doing that because we manifest these traumas and these things into our lives. So it was actually easy to forgive him because rather than taking on the resentment and the anger, I was like, that's why he does that. It's nothing to do with me. It's not for me to hold on to and be poorly for the rest of my life. It's it's his.
Mm.
And throughout my life, you just notice even more. We've all got triggers. I mean, 2 years ago, I thought I knew everything about the subconscious mind, but it proved that I didn't. So 2 years ago, um, I started suffering with really bad depression again, and I was going, "What's going on? You know what to do, Lisa." But it wasn't. It was just coming and coming and coming. And what I found out it was that my grandmother got dementia. I was trying to look after her, work full time, but I couldn't understand why the pain was so severe. I thought, she's old. It's part of life. It's going to happen, Lisa. Just calm down. And then it dawned on me. My mum left me when I was younger. So everything that I was experiencing was abandonment. And I'd never healed from the trauma of my mum leaving me. I just replaced her with another mother figure. So now that she was going, all that trauma from when I was a child, that abandonment was coming to the surface to go, heal me, I'm here. And the problem with this is that this is why I do what I do, because suppression is depression. And we've got a real bad problem with mental health, suicides, and it's because we don't know ourselves. We don't know the subconscious mind. We think that we are stuck because we're not taught how to heal ourselves. And it will, no matter how great your life is, if you've had any childhood trauma, if you've had anything, it's going to come out at some point. And it's just about acknowledging that and healing it. And it's not easy. It's not easy forgiving people. But when you do it, it just removes, I can't explain it.
Yep.
You feel just, well, I understand. I understand myself and I understand other people. It's like, with social media, I used to always look at people and the comments that they put on people's pictures, and especially with celebrities, and I used to go, that's awful.
Yeah.
But
People can be
now,
nasty on social
yeah,
media.
really, really awful. And the impacts that that has on the other people, they don't understand, because then they will believe that whether you're a stranger, because that's what we do throughout life. It locks into our subconscious and we manifest that. So if someone said you're not good enough, even if it was 15 years ago, you will play out that in your lifetime that you think that you're not good enough. And for instance, yeah, there was a lady I looked at the other day, and she commented on someone, a beautiful woman, very slim, and she said, "Ooh, your body is disgusting. You're too skinny." When you click on that person's profile, not to be disrespectful, because I do, everybody is perfect in every way. She was the opposite of slim. So in fact, this happens all the time. People that comment things is a projection of how they feel about their own self.
Mm. Yes, I have heard of that. Yeah.
And if you observe it and look at it, I know it sounds bad that you're going on someone's profile that have commented, but when you do, you'll see a pattern that it's all triggers of their own selves that they have to project onto others. And it's a real problem.
Yeah. It's interesting you were saying that, Lisa, that when someone has a problem with you, generally it's a reflection of them. They're showcasing their own inadequacies and insecurities.
Yeah.
Um, what have you come to learn about that? About people that have certain, I think, might have responded negatively towards someone or even on social media. What have you come to learn about how that manifests because of either childhood trauma or it just could be something else within their, as you said, their subconscious mind?
It's always trauma or subconscious beliefs. So even when you start doing the work, so when I do work with people and I sit down and say, write down everything that anyone's ever upset you, right from being at the age of 4. Yeah. And once they do that, they'll see a pattern that it's all very similar, and it's all very similar about how they feel about themselves. So, for instance, a lady said to me, everyone was laughing at me because a teacher made me go up, and everyone laughed at me. And now she feels that she can't speak. She shakes when she speaks. She doesn't feel good enough. She's a very, very talented singer, but she can't express herself. And it's because it seems so minor, but it has a massive, massive impact on your life. And you can go to one or two ways. It's like, when you see people and you think, that's a bit of an overreaction. If someone said something to them and they go, "Rah," we should feel sorry for people rather than judging them, thinking they're just a bad person. No one woke up one morning and said, I'm going to be a bad guy. It's not something we're taught. It's things that come to the surface. We don't understand them, so we just project them. And they've got to come out at some point. And that's why
Yes.
alcohol and things like that fuel people, and they're very aggressive and they're very violent, because them kind of people have quite a lot of trauma and they project, and they're violent people, they're angry people. They get in relationships after relationships because they've got abandonment and they feel a void, and they just have to keep getting these people that aren't good for them.
Mm.
But it's just a lack of knowledge. It's not that people are bad people. It's just they don't understand why they're being triggered, why they're having an emotion in that moment. And it's just not something that's widely known, that
Yes.
needs to be known, because it would make a massive difference, not with just judgment, but depression, mental health illness, all of it really.
Is it true, Lisa, that some of the saddest people, in particular, I guess, from a man's perspective, some of the saddest people tend to um, showcase anger. They might become very abrupt, very short with people.
Yeah.
Um, is it different for women too? Like, do women do the same, or is men generally
So,
different on how they respond?
got to be careful with this, obviously, but it's just to do with the human body.
Mm.
So, masculine have testosterone, because you're meant to be the people that used to go out and hunt and do the things, and
Yep.
we're more emotional, openly emotional people, very, very sensitive women. So the problem um, with men is they suppress so bad. I know that there are some people out there that do express, and this is why I share a lot of men's circles on my social media, because it makes a massive difference. And I understand men might not want to come to me. My inbox is always open. I'm happy to help, anybody. But because of that self-taught, masculines have to be big. So they'll go to the gym and get rid of their anger that way. Which, okay, that's good. But this is just going to build up and build up and build up. And that testosterone and the things that you're meant to have naturally as a man, this is why there's a domestic violence problem. And there is men and women. I'm not, you know, and especially fueled by alcohol. You always see when there's been a domestic violence incident, things like that, that it's fueled by alcohol, because then it makes you open. Everything comes to the surface and they don't know how to deal with it. So they violent, they attack.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
With your situation that you had been in, Lisa, what were some of the alarm bells that were going off in your head? Because we also here in Australia, we've had a few cases of domestic violence. Unfortunately, there has been some tragic fatalities, in particular for women as well.
Yeah.
We had a horrendous domestic violence case a few years ago. A woman was murdered by her estranged partner, and also her children were also murdered too. And it literally just shook the world too at its core.
Yeah.
It was just heartbreaking to hear about that.
Yeah.
But what have you come to learn about trauma in men and how they respond negatively towards other people?
So, like I said, usually they have experienced that in their childhood. Sometimes they have experienced some kind of abuse. There's always a pattern of that. Um, I mean, I can't comment on everything. I personally think that, so when we all say the same thing. It's like people that do horrific crimes. They always have this glaze over their eyes, always. And even when I first met my partner 15 years ago, he was emotionally abusive, but he was very charming. Everyone thought, oh, you wouldn't think. And then once he got you locked in, it's like they would switch. So there'd be that normal person, and then you turn around and their eyes would be like, and it was like it wasn't them. And then he'd do what he did, and then he'd go, oh, I don't know what happened. I just blacked out, all that kind of thing, which is a common thing for people to say when they've done these things. So I've got a different perspective on it that people might not agree with, but I do personally think it's alcohol, drugs, trauma, and an entity attachment.
An entity.
Yeah.
And what do you mean by entity? Like an evil entity?
Yeah.
As to do with just their surroundings and their upbringing?
Not necessarily. It could just be, so when you're very low vibrational and you're very angry and you use drugs and alcohol, entity attachments can come onto you because you're so low vibrational. You're open. And that's why a lot of us, I mean, we talk about this in a circle where women have said, yeah, it's like, it's not, when they're over you and they're doing these things, they don't have the same eyes. Like, just something switches and they do these horrendous things and horrendous crimes. But it's as if it's not them doing it.
Yes. Yeah.
And I believe that to be true. But
Yeah.
then that's my opinion.
What have you come to learn about the alarming rates of domestic violence? In particular, we're starting to see more and more cases now brought forth. Even now, women are actually the ones that are the abusers. There was an incident in your country about a man that was very abused physically and emotionally, financially as well. I can't remember the individual's name, but what have you come to learn about these sorts of cases?
So again, it can be very similar. And like I
Mm.
said, it is men and women. It's more so men,
Yep.
but yeah, the women cases are going higher and higher and higher. And it's because of this. There's a lot more trauma in our generation than there
Mm.
was all them years ago. And when I talk about trauma, it could be something so minor from relationships, social media, videos being shared on social media with that. It's all that that's bringing up other people's triggers and their traumas, and they get people are getting more and more angry, more aggressive, because when I was younger, you had to go and knock on someone's door and see if they were there, or go and meet them at the now it's like you can meet anybody, you can comment. There's a lot of nastiness, a lot of negativity, a lot of hate,
Mm.
and I think that's what creates. And the other thing as well is people are so obsessed by materialism, and you know I've got to have this because I want what they've got, and I can't get what they've got. So it's like people are always battling to be the best, or looking at, oh, look at their happy family. I've just gone through a divorce, which triggers people. And I think that's why it's so much more now than it
Yes.
used to be for that reason.
Mm. Did you happen to watch the Netflix show Adolescence?
What was it about? It sounds familiar.
Yeah, so
The
it
boy.
sparked, yeah, it sparked a
Yeah.
lot of controversy. Yeah, did you see the show?
Yeah.
What did you think? What was your take on it?
Trauma. Very, very troubled psychologically. Um,
Yeah,
and to do with the father, and yeah, very, very troubled.
yeah. The thing that I noticed too is what's really resonating is you mentioned too that you work with a lot of men as well. And we know firsthand that the suicide rates are higher in men than they are women. But unfortunately, we're starting to see a spike in female suicides too. But the show was quite alarming to sort of showcase something a little bit more sinister that society isn't really doing too well at is we've forgotten about our young boys on how they should behave, how they should be taught to, be a masculine figure in a relationship
Yeah,
as a father. Young boys, I think, are missing guidance, which is why you see some of these tragic mass shootings in America where you see these kids just shoot up the schools.
yeah.
But I think the show was quite alarming as well, and there's a lot more work that needs to be done. But did you happen to notice anything from the show yourself, and with dealing with trauma yourself, and what you've succumbed and what you've overcome is truly remarkable. But do you feel that there's a lot more work regarding helping our young boys right now?
So I think the main problem is with childhood, and this is why we have, because of broken homes, things like this, we've got to be careful with our children as well. Yes, we're going to make mistakes. Nobody's perfect as a parent, but a lot of things slide now. It's like children in school, they're very, very disrespectful. The things that they do now, there isn't enough discipline in the schools. I
Mm.
think there's too much discipline that they don't get praise for the little things that they do, and they get there's no balance, so they don't want to do anything, so they act out. And it's the same with children. It is our responsibility to make things known. And the problem is, because of social media, because of phones, they have access to horrific things. And you've got to think they're still learning, these mass shootings and things like that. What have they been watching?
Mm.
They, because that would have never have happened. That would have never happened all them years ago. And I believe that it's not just trauma. Something's triggered something in their brain that they've been watching, and they're like, I'm going to go do this. Because there's a lot of cults, religion, things going around, dark web. There's some really disturbing things. And the thing
Mm.
is, we can only check our children's phones to a certain extent. We can't control everything that we're doing. But it's about having that balance of being a best friend and being a parent. Um, but we can't control that. I mean, you could say, I mean, if you look at the nicest men and women in, on this earth, they've either done a lot of healing work, a lot of understanding, they've removed attachment issues, abandonment issues, all them triggers and all them things. They're very, very calm people, they can listen. I mean, some people are lucky enough to not experience trauma and they're just, plodding around, just projecting love. And but then you've got but the them kind of people haven't experienced some of the most horrific things that some people have had to face. And
Yes.
this is why I do the work that I do. And I want to speak, like when I was writing my books, children need to learn about this in school
I agree.
so they understand their triggers, so they can have anger management, they can control themselves. Because once you finally understand what triggers you, what hurts you, what makes you angry, you can fix it. And again, as a child, if someone said something so horrible to you, shared something on social media, they would know how to let go of that rather than hold on to it. And then obviously there's a lot of violence in the world. And it's a problem because it's more shared and known. And the other problem with domestic violence and things like that is most of them don't go to jail, and they only go to jail for like 6 months, even for doing something really, really horrific. And that's a real problem.
Yeah. 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 What can you break down the subconscious mind and the conscious mind? Because I think a lot of people have, I guess, heard what the two are, but if you can sort of differentiate that, because I think this might tie into some of the stuff that you were talking about on social media with what people are watching. If they're watching the news, they're seeing a lot of negativity and how that can reprogram their mind. Can you break down the two?
Yeah. So they're obviously very, very different, but because we're very, very busy people, we're always on our phones, we're always watch, and it's like the news. Good evening. Here's the
Mm.
worst, most negative thing that, I mean, I personally don't watch it.
No,
Um,
me neither. Yeah.
because I think it's very, very low vibration. It's very fearful.
Yeah.
And I like to stay away from it.
Makes me feel
And
sad when I watch the news.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But then you've got the same thing with social media. So we're like this on Facebook, looking at videos, and you've got paedophile hunters, you've got domestic violence, you've got mass shooting, and people will watch these. Now, again, when I talk about vibration, that locks you on a certain vibration. So, like, when people, I'm just changing the subject a little bit so I can switch back. Have you ever heard people, I don't know if you know anything about manifestation. Have you ever?
Yeah.
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 So people will say to me, Lisa, I wrote it down 500 times and I put it under the moon and I did this and I have a vision board and it's not coming. It's been 5 years. And I'm like, do you believe it's going to come? And they're like, well, yeah, I deserve it. And I said, but do you believe it? Because the subconscious mind will block you if you do not believe that you can have them things. It's the same thing with manifesting low vibrational. So another example, someone said to me, Lisa, I keep attracting these men that keep doing the same thing and it has the same ending and the same outcome. And it's like, because your subconscious mind is giving you an unhealed version of yourself because that's what you believe you deserve. So everything plays out. And if people realize that, they wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, yeah, so the it's all vibration. And if you want to be down here, you're going to attract bad things. You're going to have a bad brain. And the thing is with the conscious and the subconscious, your subconscious has really good ideas. Your conscious mind will say, well, more the ego will say, you can't do that. So you don't do it. You're not good enough to do that. So don't do it. And it becomes a belief system that we have. And it stops us from doing the things that we're meant to do.
Yes. You know, it's fascinating too, Lisa, is I had a high performance entrepreneur on my podcast, and he works with a lot of other high performance entrepreneurs, and he says the same thing, that the common denominator amongst high achieving, very successful people is it stems from childhood. Either they weren't accepted, they had to prove themselves. Maybe didn't get the love that they deserved. Um, this is why I think, you see some of the most remarkable people on the planet, they've been through some sort of trauma or hurt.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. For people that have had a very tough childhood, um, how do these things manifest in our romantic relationships?
So that's when the attachments come in.
Yep.
So you attract what you think about yourself regardless. Um, Not necessarily that person's going to have abandonment issues, that person, but it will show them to you. So, for instance, people that have abandonment jump in and out of relationships, in, out, in, out. Um, and they're also just love me, love me, love me, because of obviously they didn't feel that when they were younger. So that you'd see them as quite a needy person, which might be quite annoying to, someone else. Then you've got avoidant attachments. Avoidant attachments are people that had an absent father, absent dad, um, didn't know how to express emotions, wasn't heard. So then they have an avoidant attachment. So they like being on their own, but when they get into a relationship, they'll run. If there's anything emotional, they'll run for the hills. They'll be gone, and you'll be like, "What's going on?" And there's lots of different attachments, and this is why it's important to see which ones everyone might have, because you'll have an aha moment and go, "Oh, that's why I got upset when that person did that." And when they
Mm,
left me, again, like I said earlier, an avoidant, because that person, the person you love, is being emotional. It brings back that trigger and that trauma when you're younger and going, "I'm not listening." And the same with abandonment. If someone leaves you and you were abandoned when you were a child, it hurts you so deeply that people spiral into mental health and depression because it's bringing up all that pain. So it's double whammy. And then they're now thinking, "I'm not good enough. What did I do wrong?" It's all, and it's a cycle. Um, and I think it's very important with relationships to align with each other.
mm,
No one's perfect, but when you understand each other on an emotional level, then you're not triggered by each other. You understand each other. And say, for instance, if I shouted and said something, I'd be like, "Oops, that was a trigger. Sorry about that." But at least then you can acknowledge and they'll go, "Oh, okay." And it's about that alignment to one another. But I think because nowadays with online dating and, all the platforms that we've got, we're so quick to go very superficial as well. You know,
yeah.
it's a very quick thing when you might not emotionally align with that person.
Yeah. I think this is also one of the reasons why a lot of relationships are fucking hard,
Yeah.
that are really, a lot of men and women are really struggling, is because they don't understand their own attachment style and the way they respond to love. And as you just mentioned, I think you mentioned disorganized attachment, and then you also have an anxious attachment,
Yeah.
and then you've got secure attachment. And you made a good point. They don't teach this stuff in school. They should teach this stuff in
Yeah.
school. Learn how to unpack your trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say are also some of the common barriers people face when seeking help for their trauma?
Quite a few. Um, there's not enough counselors, psychiatrists. They're inundated. And you have to think as well that each counselor, each psychiatrist studies a specific subject. So if you come to them with one thing, they might not be able to help. But take that away because of the pressures anyway. Speaking, like I said, suppression is depression. And the more you suppress, the longer you suppress. I mean, I see people all the time that say, I was like, have you healed from this? And they'll go, yeah, I don't care about him anymore. He's a bastard. I don't even think about him anymore. And I'm like, are you sure about that? Just because just because time is a healer, which it is, but all it does is take away the emotions so they become less and less, and that love comes less and less and less. But you're still left with the emotional side of it. Am I good enough? Was I good enough for them? Was there something I did wrong? Which you're left with. And a lot of people bring that into their next relationship as well.
Yeah.
Mm. And I think it's more of a vulnerability thing as well. So we have lots, the spaces that I go to, there's places in Manchester, lots of men's circles, and they're all lovely, lovely people. And they make it fun as well. And, you know, when you sit with a group of people, it can be really scary to talk about. That's a big thing. Um, Even as a woman, that's quite a big thing. But as a man, that makes you very vulnerable, and that would trigger you as a masculine, to sort of express those things. But these men, there's loads of them. They'll go, oh, bro, yeah, I've been through that. And oh, man, it's really tough. And well done for getting through it. And just hearing someone else say, oh, yeah, I've gone through that. Oh, it was heavy, it it makes such a difference. And even though, okay, it takes a bit more than that, but that stops people from going getting drunk and, oh, I'm feeling stressed today. I'm really hurt. I'm going to go to the pub with my friends. And then that trauma is going to come up and up and up and up and up because you're drinking.
Yep.
Um, and I think it's more of a problem because people don't want to be vulnerable.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
it also needs to be put out there more that these places are available for people to go to. And there's lots of men from different places and women, the women's circles, and we all come together as well, sometimes men and women. And you'll see people's life change very, very quickly. You see the person that when they came in compared to a few months that it's life changing. It makes a massive difference and it's so important.
Yeah.
And that's like when I say to people when they want to come into my space and they're going, oh, I don't want to, I'm scared. And I'm like, what are you scared of? We're all girls, we're all together in a woods doing a thing, you know, but they'll go, oh, no, that makes me vulnerable, which is
Yeah.
totally, I get it, totally get it. Um, and I think it's more of making it more known that so many more people are going through this than what they realize.
Yeah. And what are some of the events that you do, Lisa? What do you have both men and women coming to your events, or is it like a
Yeah.
women's retreat or a men's retreat on another day, or
Well,
what are the events?
I'm still in the process of sort of setting things up because I'm an aesthetic practitioner as well. So I have another job. So I've basically been doing one-on-ones
Right.
through FaceTime. That's trauma work, or they can come to the space where we do the trauma work, go through everything, find out the triggers, what's been going on in their life, that kind of thing, write them down, and one by one start dissecting them. We then do a space where we all get together and it's healing. If you're interested in stuff like that, so sound healing, Reiki, frequency music, sound bowls, people that are trying to release, they've got something stuck, just help to release and bring that to the surface. So it's two different things, really. It's doing the subconscious work or doing just the sound healing, um, which, yeah, I'm sort of slowly getting in the process of getting people to come together
Yeah.
rather than the one-on-ones. Well, one-on-ones are great, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I think
You
we more.
mentioned vulnerability, Lisa, and men and women express vulnerability very differently. I don't know if you're familiar or heard this, but someone said women bond face to face, whereas men bond shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
And I had a lovely female guest on my podcast last year. She's a men's mental health advocate. Her brother tragically took his own life a few years ago to suicide. Um, and the name of the podcast, I called it "Male Depression Gets Treated Like Female Depression." In other words, that how women respond or heal is a little bit different to, I guess, to how men respond. Men just want to find a solution, which is why I think you have a lot of these retreats where men go out hunting and in the wilderness where they're doing activities together. And what have you come to learn about that with regards to how men and women differ in their healing journeys?
So you say differ, but again, it's the same process,
Mm.
but it's bashing that down because, like I said earlier, the men have that masculine. You were meant to have that, from the caveman times,
Yep.
and whereas we are quite emotional beings, whereas men are suppressors even more than we are. It's just you want to find a logical solution to this problem, and that's it. And because that doesn't necessarily work like that, it might
Mm.
do for a short period of time, and you probably have found throughout your life that it has worked, but it's still there. It
Yeah.
hasn't gone anywhere. And that's the problem, if we don't be vulnerable and we don't, as men and women, that the healing process doesn't differ. It's just that we're made to believe, men are made to believe that you still need to be this when you don't. And the problem with the dynamic of the masculine and the feminine is that it's not needed anymore.
Mm.
It's not needed. It needs to be equal on every aspect. And that needs to change as well.
Yeah. A lot of men too, Lisa, really worry about opening up, not just to their friends or family, but also even to their romantic partner. A lot of men really worry that it might be weaponized and used against them. Um, and I think it's a bit of a slippery slope because society also says be more open, be more vulnerable, even to the point where a man might even cry, where he might actually shed a tear. Um, and unfortunately, and I'm not saying all women, but there are some women that have used it against them in a future argument and weaponized it and used against them. And I think women only get one shot with a man's vulnerability, one.
Yeah.
And if you use that against him and weaponize it against him in a future argument, he will never ever open up to you again. Men are
Or
very
maybe to
sensitive.
anyone else.
Yeah, men are very sensitive like that. But I think it's hard. It's difficult because society and men, I think in general, they want to be heard, they want to be seen, but they also want to be that stoic masculine
Yeah.
rock. They
Yeah.
want to be. But I think sometimes, if there's been a death in the family or your dog dies, and that man sheds a tear. I think sometimes men really struggle with that. They really do worry about it being used against them. What can women do to create safe spaces for men?
To be honest, I think that's awful and really sad. I
Mm.
haven't actually heard about that, but I can imagine um, that it happens. And the thing is, you can't control what people do, what people say to you. Um, and that, again, it is an attack. That's an abuse. That's not even just, that really touched me. Because, again, like you say, I remember my ex husband, something really tragic happened to us with a baby. And he kept himself together and he kept himself together. And I said to him once, I said, "Are you all right? Just speak." But he was like, "No." And I came home from work early and I could hear him. I'd never in 5 years heard him, see him shed a tear. And he was sobbing. And it took me back. So I understand in a way because you don't see that and men being vulnerable. And even though I'd asked him 100 times, "Are you sure you're okay? Are you sure you're okay?" "Yep, fine, fine." And obviously, being a woman, everyone was asking if I was okay every day,
Mm.
forgetting that he's a part of that too. And I got upstairs and I went, and really, and I started crying because I was like, "Oh my God." But I didn't know what to do at the time. I was just trying to hug him and hold him, and it went on for ages. And it really saddens me that, and the thing is, in arguments and things like that, people do throw some horrible, and they will, anything to hurt you because you're not
Mm.
listening, then they'll throw it at you. And the thing is, women, like, that's not cool. But you can't control what people do. You can't control
Yeah.
what people say. It's just about you just not holding on to that and knowing you're only affecting yourself by holding in what you're holding in. Just because you're a man, yes, you're the protectors. Yes, you do that, but that doesn't mean that you can't be emotional. That doesn't mean that you
Yeah.
can't cry. That shouldn't even be a thing. You're a human person with the same conscious mind and subconscious mind. That they're not different.
Yeah.
And yeah, that really saddens me actually.
I heard Chris Williamson, so he's a podcaster. He's from your country. He said men have to earn the right to express their emotions. They have to gain some manly points. In other words, they have to build their value up to be able to express themselves. The reason why Brad Pitt can cry on camera is because he's Brad Pitt. You know,
Yeah,
women find him incredibly attractive. He's very masculine, but he can shed a tear. There was a famous story of Chris Bumstead, who's a very famous professional bodybuilder who cried, I think, in his girlfriend's arms. And when you look at him, he's the epitome of masculinity. You know, he's like this Greek god. You look at him, he's all the women love him,
yeah,
but he can cry in his girlfriend's arms. But there are a lot of men out there that don't really have that opportunity
yeah,
to cry or even show vulnerability. And the men that might really need that would be those type of men, which is
yeah,
kind of sad.
yeah.
You know,
Very.
I think that we need to maybe collectively come together as a society and figure out how to understand each other better, because I think we're confused as fuck.
Yeah,
I think men and women are
yeah,
confused as fuck. We're
yeah,
confused about what we want in relationships. We're confused about what we want long term. Um, you know, this is the whole paradigm and fuckery that's happening in the world right now, where men are acting more like women and women are acting like men, and that's where it gets all fucked up.
yeah.
Um, well, I think we just need to take it back to basics. But yeah, I think just speaking on the vulnerability thing, there are still a lot of men that really do worry about opening up, not just to their romantic partner, but to, um, you know, even to their friends and family.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, what's your thoughts on that? I mean, what can we do collectively as a society to really try and better understand one another? Men can understand women a bit better, and vice versa. What can we learn from one another?
I think, like you say, I think we need to just strip back to basics because
Mm.
when you actually do think about it, it's actually very basic.
It
It's not
is.
like, it's just that understanding of ourselves, doing the work, and women as well, to know it's okay for a man to do that. It's okay for a man to cry. Don't judge him, or, we are human and we all have emotions. They don't have some kind of superpower that we don't have,
Mm.
you know. And I think it's important that that expresses. And I spoke to a man, he FaceTimed me on Facebook. I'm not going to say, obviously, the name. And he's an older man. He's sort of like in his 60s, 70s. And he used to be, what do you call it? Singer, guitarist in the 60s or whatever. Very well known on Google and everything. And I don't know what spiked him, but he was very defensive at the start. But he said, "How can you help me remove this?" And I said, "Okay, well, you need to be a bit more, just so I can understand what you're going through." And then I called him, and then he was backtracking. So he wasn't wanting to tell me what was going on, until I started sort of like saying, "By the way, this happened to me when I was younger. Oh, that's happened to my partner. That's happened. And then he was like, "Oh." And then he spieled for like an hour and a half, and something's triggered with him. The fact that I'm a stranger to him, I'm also a woman, and that's triggered something in him. Like he keeps saying to me, "Thank you so much, Lisa. Like I feel like I can open up now, and I can speak, and it's okay to speak."
Mm.
And I think it's about getting that safeness as well. And like you say, with a partner, you might not be able to get that. I understand
Yeah.
that. But at the same
Mm.
time, it's our job as men and women to change that and to do that.
Yeah.
And that will stop suicides. It will stop mental health. It will stop these or lessen them. I'm not saying it's going to stop them. But if we all know that we can express, man or women, then what are we suppressing? Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting too. I was listening to another podcast before, Lisa. The most dangerous person on the planet is actually a man by himself. Um,
Mhm.
if you look at some of the tragic stories that happen where men sexually abuse, assault, this is why the Me Too movement was a revolution. It needed to happen because it brought shame to predatory men, like Jeffrey Epstein and things like that.
Yeah.
It's only a small cohort of men. It's one man doing 1,000 bad things, not 1,000 men doing one bad thing to women. But the most dangerous man is actually a man by himself. He's more likely to take his own life.
Yeah.
Um, but women also worry about their safety. They worry about also being sexually assaulted or accused. And I think this is one of the reasons why men aren't really courting women anymore. They're not going up and asking women out. There was a study that suggested that women still want men to make the first move. There was a different study that suggested above 50% of men are afraid of making a move on a woman for being seen as creepy. And this is the kind of thing right now where men are scared shitless of being another Johnny Depp Amber Heard case.
Yeah.
Women are also scared because they don't want to be sexually assaulted. But I think collectively as a society, I think there seems to be a push in a movement where men and women are becoming further and further apart from each other when we should be coming together. We both complement one another. But do you think something like this is happening right now? There is seem to be a divide in the sexes.
Yeah. And like you say, there's a lot of people that are choosing to be on their own.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of people, even myself, um, but not out of scared. But then I guess it kind of is as well because of going back to social media. They've got all these groups now where it's like this man, stay away from this man, stay away from this woman, stay away from that, and it's just constant. And it's quite scary and worrying because being with someone, even though it was 15 years ago, it took me a long time to trust a man, and obviously that's when I met my ex-husband. Um, and the impacts that these things have on you long term. And we shouldn't even be experiencing these things. We should be able to feel safe in our homes and anywhere. We should never,
Mm.
ever have to feel that we're not safe by a man or a woman. But going back, again, it's because we don't know ourselves. We don't know ourselves. No one knows themselves. We're just walking around riddled with trauma, trigger, trigger, trigger. And relationships aren't working as much as they used to. Like I said again, people aren't aligning with one another. And they're so quick to run away. It's like, oh, I'm not dealing with that. I'll go find myself something else, something new, which people are very quick to do because it's so easy to do that people think, oh, the grass is greener. I'm going to go here. And a lot of people I speak to says, I'd much prefer to be on my own than have to keep going round a cycle of other people's shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is sad, but again, it's so much more peaceful, isn't it? I guess. Um,
Yeah. It's an interesting one. Do you spend a life in solitude
mm,
by yourself? or do you spend it with someone that there's a possibility that you might have a loving relationship, but at the same time you might have a relationship where you're miserable?
Yeah.
I think there's risk involved with anything. We get to choose our regrets, don't we, in
Yeah.
life?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And at the end of the
yeah,
day, you have a choice with what you do. And I think, raw, I mean, this is a very spiritual thing to say, but what is for you will not pass you by. Anything that's for you will come into your life. You don't need to go and search for anything. And when you do go out searching, you're searching on a place of lack. So then you'll end up with someone that doesn't align with you. Whereas if someone comes into your life and you think, we're aligning here, like we've got the same
yeah.
ideas, the same, then you can work with that. But
Mm.
there's obviously two different, whichever way you want to go.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? I think going back to attachment styles, um, this is one of the reasons why I think, learning about attachment styles at a young age and learning about your childhood and how you can heal can help with, lasting healthy relationships in the
Absolutely.
future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that the longer it stays on, so as long as, because obviously your childhood, that's the most important time where your subconscious is, it's an empty vessel. It's just
Mm.
everything's going in. Whereas if we fixed it of an age, even of a teenage age, it's so much harder to remove these things as an adult. Even though you're acknowledging them, it's a lot harder to remove them here and now than it is if we had that knowledge and that understanding as a child. We'd all be entrepreneurs, we'd all have beautiful relationships because we'd understand ourselves so
Yeah.
much more. But how do you get that out there? How do you make that happen?
Yeah, it's interesting. You were talking about manifestation, and you could talk about the law of attraction. And I remember watching the documentary The Secret, but it's interesting when you watch that documentary and you use that thing with a friend of yours that wrote down 500 times, this is what I want, but it hasn't come true yet, because it's their belief system, isn't it? It's what they
Yeah,
believe, but its deeper root is their subconscious mind.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
If someone was to say attract their life partner, or they want to have more money, you know, how can they work on their subconscious mind? What do they need to do?
obviously that's two very different vibrations.
Okay, all right, let's go someone that wants to attract money in their life.
So again, money is a frequency. So people that don't have money, usually in their childhood, they were around families that didn't have that. So that's already a subconscious belief. Another thing is when we're trying to manifest money, career, whatever you're thinking, um, you've got to get rid of that place of lack still, which is really hard to do. It's not going to take writing it 14 times. It's not going to, it's about that ego that's shouting at you and saying, you're not good enough. You can't earn that money. You can't do that. Why? Of course you can. Anyone can. But it's going to keep saying that to you because it's there to stop you.
Mm,
So when a thought comes to your mind and you'll go, I'm going to do that because that's gonna make me this and that and the other, rather than listening to, don't do that, you can't do that. Go, yes, I can. Yes, I can. And you're then on a vibrational level for money. So everything is a vibrational frequency that anyone has access to. If you're not on that frequency, it doesn't matter what you write down or your vision boards, you're not going to get it. But that's how easy it is. Follow your ideas, follow your intuitions, and don't listen to that thing that's going, no, you can't, no, you can't. You go, yes, I can. Yes, I can.
yeah,
And the more you say yes to yourself, the more that subconscious belief will be gone as well. So it's a blockage. It blocks you from money, relationships, all sorts of things. But once you release it and say, yes, I can.
yeah.
That's the money one anyway.
Okay, and what about if someone wants to attract their life partner?
So I think again, you have to understand yourself quite a lot. So you need to be on a frequency to connect with that person, not someone that you're looking on Hinge or Tinder and going, oh,
Mm,
that's my wife, that's my husband to be. None of that. Don't do that. When you're manifesting, so something like that, especially, is write down the qualities of what you'd want in a man or a woman and keep it and envision a future of what your future would be like, not what they look like, what your future, what that feeling would be of being with that person, what it would feel like to be with somebody that's your perfect partner, and leave it there
mm.
with no doubts, and just believe that that's going to be delivered to you and stay on that frequency. None of that going and dating people or having one night stands, doing all that silly stuff that you do, because that's energy vampire, energy transferring. Don't do that. Um, and then yeah, it will come to you.
Yeah.
It won't come to you maybe when you want it or straight away, but it will become when that person is ready to come to you. Because obviously
Yeah.
they have to be on your energetic level as well.
And obviously your habits have to be aligned too. Yeah. You can't be not going to the gym and not exercising and eating bad food. And I mean, just things that you would obviously try and do.
Yeah.
Your habits have to be aligned with that too. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, because you have to share the same. Because obviously, if you don't like someone that, you look after your body, you've got a healthy body, a healthy mind, you don't want someone that's going to sit there eating pizza and
Mm.
eating a tub of ice cream because it won't align with you, will it?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Lisa, thank you so much for jumping on.
No problem.
Interesting conversation, especially diving into the subconscious mind. But whereabouts can people find you?
So I'm mainly on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram, so it's just Lisa
Yeah.
Matthews on Facebook. Yeah,
Yeah. And will you start an Instagram page down the track?
maybe, maybe. I just don't
Yeah.
like to have too many platforms going on because obviously I've got quite a lot of engagement from Facebook, so I'm trying to stick to one thing, so I'm not, here, there, and
Working
everywhere.
steps. I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Start
yeah,
start small and then work your way up.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic, Lisa. And what about people that want to book in, like just through an event, or do you advertise everything on your Facebook?
Yeah, it's all on there. Yeah, so
Okay,
any upcoming events, anything's all on there. Yeah.
amazing, awesome. Thank you so much, Lisa.
No, thank you, James. It's been great to talk with you.
Thanks, Lisa.
All right, take care.